They say sarcasm is the last refuge of the desperate. I'm practically a sarcasm billionaire these days. That's what I was thinking as I watched my wife, Rachel, roll her eyes at me across the crowded bar table, surrounded by our so-called friends. The weekly game night at Murphy's Pub had become my personal version of hell, complete with craft beer and humiliation served on tap. Ethan, it's your turn, Bree announced, waving the relationship trivia card like a tiny flag of surrender. Would you marry your spouse again? The question hung in the air like cigarette smoke. Around the table, our friends leaned in, with the hungry anticipation of vultures circling roadkill. Tyler Brandt, the gym owner, who'd been eye-fucking my wife for months, smirked from his seat next to Rachel. His Mustang keys glinted on the table like a promise of everything I wasn't. Rachel didn't even hesitate. Absolutely not. Never again. Who'd marry this loser twice? The laughter erupted immediately. Bree cackled like a witch discovering fire. Sienna nearly choked on her wine. Greg, Tyler's gym buddy, at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. But Tyler? Tyler threw back his head and laughed like I'd just told the funniest joke in human history. Jesus, Rachel, Tyler wheezed between laughs. Remind me never to piss you off. Too late for that advice, I said quietly. The laughter died. Everyone stared at me as I reached into my jacket and pulled out a manila envelope. My hands were steady as I slid it across the sticky table toward my wife of 14 years. Finally, I said, meeting Rachel's suddenly pale gaze. Something we agree on. Rachel's manicured fingers trembled as she opened the envelope. Her face went through a fascinating color progression, pink to white to green, as she read the divorce papers I'd had prepared 3 weeks ago. Ethan, what the hell is this? She whispered. You're a get-out-of-jail-free card, sweetheart. Congratulations. You're about to be single again. The table fell silent except for the distant sound of a jukebox playing some country song about heartbreak and whiskey. Bree's mouth hung open like a broken mailbox. Sienna's wine glass paused halfway to her lips. Tyler's cocky grin had evaporated faster than morning dew. You can't be serious, Rachel said, her voice climbing toward hysteria. This is a joke, right? Some kind of sick payback for what, Rachel? For the constant humiliation? For the eye-rolling every time I speak? For the way you and your friends here treat me like I'm some kind of pathetic charity case you keep around for entertainment? I stood up, fishing a 20 out of my wallet and dropping it on the table. Or maybe for the way you've been screwing Tyler here for the past 6 months, while I've been working 60-hour weeks to pay for your lifestyle? The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear Tyler's breathing change. Rachel's face went nuclear. How did you... Security cameras are everywhere these days, honey. Even in gym parking lots. I looked directly at Tyler, whose face had gone the color of old cheese. Nice Mustang, by the way. Very compensatory. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door, leaving behind the wreckage of my marriage and the shocked faces of people I'd once called friends. Behind me, I heard Rachel's voice crack as she called my name, but I didn't turn around. The October air hit my face like a slap of freedom. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The next morning, I woke up on my best friend Marcus's couch with a crick in my neck and the taste of regret in my mouth. Not regret for what I'd done. Regret that I'd waited so long to do it. Marcus shuffled into the living room, wearing a bathrobe that had seen better decades, carrying 2 cups of coffee that smelled like salvation. So, he said, settling into his recliner, how does it feel to have finally grown a pair? Like I should have done it years ago? I accepted the coffee gratefully. Rachel's been texting me since 5 a.m. 47 messages and counting. What's she saying? I scrolled through my phone. The usual progression. Denial, anger, bargaining, more anger, threats, fake apologies, and back to anger. She's currently in the "you'll never see Lucas again" phase. Marcus winced. Lucas was my 14-year-old son, a quiet kid who spent most of his time gaming and observing the world, with the weary eyes of someone who'd seen too much family drama. She can't do that, can she? Not legally, but she'll try. I set down my phone as it buzzed again. I need to talk to Lucas before she poisons him against me completely. What about work? You can't stay here forever, much as I'd love the company. I worked as an IT project manager for a mid-sized software company downtown. Decent pay, good benefits, and a boss who mostly left me alone as long as the projects got done on time. The kind of stable, boring job that Rachel had increasingly treated like a personal failure on my part. I'll figure something out. Maybe get my own place. The words felt strange in my mouth. My own place. At 38, I was about to be a bachelor again. My phone rang. Rachel's photo filled the screen. A picture from our anniversary dinner last year, back when we still pretended to be happy. I should take this, I said. Marcus nodded and disappeared into the kitchen, giving me privacy for what was sure to be an unpleasant conversation. Hello, Rachel. Ethan, thank God. Listen, we need to talk. Last night I was drunk and you caught me off guard, and you weren't drunk when you were fucking Tyler in his gym after hours. You weren't drunk when you told Bree and Sienna that I was sexually disappointing and going nowhere in life. You weren't drunk when you rolled your eyes at everything I said for the past 2 years. Silence on the other end, then. You were listening to our conversations? The salon you go to shares a ventilation system with the insurance office next door. Sound carries. Did you know that? More silence. I could practically hear her brain working, trying to figure out how much I knew and how much damage control she needed to do. Ethan, I'm sorry, I really am. I know I haven't been the best wife lately, but we can work through this. We have history. We have Lucas. We have nothing, Rachel. You made sure of that. Don't do this. Please, think about what you're throwing away. I looked around Marcus's cluttered living room, the mismatched furniture, the stack of science fiction novels, the framed photo of his ex-wife that he still hadn't put away 3 years after their divorce. This wasn't what I'd planned for my life, but it was honest. It was real. I'm not throwing anything away, I said. I'm taking out the trash. I hung up and immediately turned off my phone. Outside, I could hear the sounds of Saturday morning in suburbia. Lawnmowers and leaf blowers, kids riding bikes, dogs barking at invisible threats. Normal people living normal lives. For the first time in years, I wanted to be normal again. Monday morning brought a new reality. I sat in my cubicle at Dataflow Solutions, trying to focus on a project timeline while my personal life imploded in slow motion. My coworker, Tina Martinez, leaned over the partition, her dark eyes bright with curiosity. So, is it true you served Rachel divorce papers at Murphy's on Saturday? Word traveled fast in our circle. Where did you hear that? Sienna works in accounting at my dentist's office. She called in sick today, but her replacement was very chatty. Tina grinned. Also, Tyler's been posting cryptic shit on social media about loyalty and fake friends. Very entertaining. I'm sure it is. For what it's worth, I never liked her. Rachel always acted like she was too good for you, which is bullshit, because you're the only guy I know who can fix my computer and make me laugh at the same time. Before I could respond, my desk phone rang. The caller ID made my stomach clench. Lincoln Elementary School. Lucas's school. Mr. Voss, this is Principal Hayes. I'm calling because Lucas seems quite upset today. He's been in the counselor's office since first period. We tried calling your wife, but I'll be right there. I grabbed my keys and headed for the elevator, ignoring Tina's concerned questions. The drive to Lucas's school took 15 minutes through downtown traffic. 15 minutes of imagining what Rachel might have told our son about the divorce. About me, about our family falling apart. I found Lucas sitting in the counselor's office, staring at his hands. At 14, he was all elbows and knees, with Rachel's dark hair and my stubborn chin. He looked up when I walked in, and I saw relief flicker across his face. Hey, Dad. Hey, kiddo. Rough morning? Mrs. Peterson, the school counselor, was a kind woman in her 50s who'd seen every variety of family crisis. She gave me a meaningful look. Lucas, why don't you and your father take a walk? I'll let your teachers know you'll be back after lunch. We ended up at a park a few blocks from the school, sitting on a bench and watching elementary kids play on the playground. Lucas was quiet for a long time, the way he got when he was processing something difficult. Mom told me you're getting divorced, he finally said. Yes, I'm sorry you had to hear it from her first. I wanted to talk to you myself. She said you're having a midlife crisis, that you're being selfish and throwing away our family for no reason. I felt anger rise in my chest, but I kept my voice level. What do you think? Lucas was quiet for another minute. Then, I think Mom's been mean to you for a long time. I think she doesn't respect you, and I think that guy Tyler's an asshole. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Language, kiddo. Sorry, but he is. He came over last week when you were at work. They were, I don't know, weird together. I stayed in my room. My heart broke a little. I'm sorry you had to see that. Are you going to fight for custody? The question surprised me. Do you want me to? Yeah. His voice was small but certain. I want to live with you. I put my arm around his shoulders, and for once, he didn't pull away. Then I'll fight for you, I promise. That afternoon, I called a divorce attorney named Patricia Hendricks. Her office was in a converted Victorian house downtown, all hardwood floors and legal books. She was a sharp woman in her 40s, with silver-streaked hair and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd seen every ugly thing people could do to each other. Tell me about your marriage, Mr. Voss. I told her everything. The gradual erosion of respect, the public humiliation, the affair with Tyler, the way Rachel had systematically isolated me from friends and made me feel like a failure. Patricia took notes on a yellow legal pad, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Do you have any evidence of the affair? Some. Photos, timestamps from security cameras. I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago. She looked up from her notes. You've been planning this. I've been preparing for it. There's a difference. Good. Preparation wins cases. What about your son? He wants to live with me. Rachel will fight it, but Lucas is old enough that his preference matters, right? In Massachusetts, yes. Especially if we can demonstrate that your wife's behavior has been detrimental to the child's well-being. Patricia leaned back in her chair. I have to ask, are you looking for a quick, amicable divorce, or are you prepared for war? I thought about Rachel's laughter at the bar, about Tyler's smug grin, about all the times I'd swallowed my pride and pretended everything was fine. War, I said. The private investigator I'd hired was a man named Lyle Brennan, a retired Boston cop with nicotine-stained fingers and the patience of a saint. He'd been following Tyler for 3 weeks, documenting his habits, his clients, and his extracurricular activities. We met at a diner near the highway, the kind of place that served coffee strong enough to wake the dead and minded its own business. Lyle slid a manila folder across the cracked Formica table. Your boy Tyler's been busy, he said, lighting a cigarette despite the no smoking signs. 3 other married clients he's been training after hours, if you catch my meaning. Plus, he's got a side business selling steroids to high school kids. I flipped through the photos. Tyler with various women, Tyler handing small packages to teenagers, Tyler counting cash in his office. This is enough to destroy him. More than enough. Question is, what do you want to do with it? I studied the photos of Tyler with his other conquests. Rachel wasn't special to him. She was just another bored housewife, looking for excitement. The realization should have hurt, but instead, it felt like ammunition. I want to hurt him first, then her. But I want it to be public. Lyle grinned, showing teeth stained yellow by decades of coffee and cigarettes. Now you're talking my language. The first phase of my plan was elegantly simple. Tyler's gym, Brant Fitness, relied heavily on word of mouth and online reviews. His clientele was mostly middle-aged professionals and their wives, people who valued discretion and reputation above all else. I started with Yelp, created several fake accounts, and began posting detailed reviews about unprofessional conduct and inappropriate behavior with female clients. Nothing libelous, just enough to plant seeds of doubt. Then I got creative. Tyler's gym had a sound system that connected to his phone via Bluetooth. The password was pathetically simple: Mustang69. During his Tuesday evening advanced training session, while he was in the back office with one of his married clients, I sat in my car outside and connected to his speakers. The audio I played was a recording Lyle had made the week before, Tyler on the phone with his steroid supplier, discussing prices and delivery schedules. His voice echoed through the gym for a full 30 seconds before he realized what was happening and shut it down. But 30 seconds was enough. 3 clients canceled their memberships the next day. The piece de resistance came on Thursday. Tyler always parked his precious Mustang in the same spot behind the gym, under a security light that had been broken for months. I waited until he was inside, then got to work. I didn't damage the car. That would have been criminal. Instead, I decorated it. Washable pink paint, applied with artistic flair. Property of Rachel Voss across the windshield. Cheater on the driver's side door. Small package on the trunk. The beauty of washable paint was that it looked permanent, but wasn't actually vandalism. Tyler would have to explain the decorations to everyone who saw the car, but he couldn't press charges. I was sitting in my rental apartment that evening, enjoying a beer and a sense of satisfaction when my phone rang. Tyler's name appeared on the caller ID. "You son of a bitch," he said without preamble. "Tyler, how's the car? You think this is funny? You think you can fuck with me and get away with it? I think you fucked with my wife and got away with it for 6 months. I'm just evening the score. This isn't over, you pathetic piece of shit. You're going to what? Beat me up? That would look great on your record, especially with those steroid sales coming to light. I hear the DEA takes that stuff very seriously." Silence on the other end. "Here's what's going to happen, Tyler. You're going to stay away from my wife. You're going to keep your mouth shut about our little conversation. And if you even think about retaliating, I'll make sure every parent in town knows you've been selling drugs to their kids." I hung up and immediately called Lyle. "Phase 1 complete," I said. "How's our other project coming along?" "Your wife's been busy too. Lunch with her lawyer yesterday, coffee with her mother this morning. She's planning something. Let her plan. By the time she makes her move, it'll be too late." Rachel's counterattack came on a Friday morning. I was at work debugging a software issue when Patricia Hendricks called. "Your wife filed an emergency motion for sole custody," she said without preamble. "She's claiming you're mentally unstable and potentially dangerous." "Based on what evidence?" "The divorce papers at the bar, apparently. Plus testimony from her friends that you've been erratic and threatening. She's painting you as a man having a breakdown." I laughed, which probably didn't help my case for mental stability. "Of course she is. When's the hearing?" "Monday morning. We need to be prepared. Do you have those recordings we discussed?" The recordings. Lucas had been my secret weapon, documenting his mother's behavior on his phone for weeks. Rachel's verbal abuse, her conversations with Tyler, her dismissive comments about me and our marriage. All perfectly legal since it was happening in our family home. I have them, plus some new material from this week. That evening, I picked up Lucas for our scheduled dinner. He climbed into my car looking tired and stressed. "Mom's been crazy all week," he said. "She keeps asking me questions about you, trying to get me to say bad things." "What kind of questions?" "Like, has Dad ever hit you? Does Dad drink too much? Has Dad ever said anything scary? It's weird, Dad. She's acting like you're some kind of monster." We drove to a pizza place across town, away from our usual haunts where we might run into Rachel or her friends. Lucas ordered a large pepperoni and proceeded to eat half of it, while telling me about school, his friends, and a girl named Emma, who sat next to him in English class. "Are you nervous about Monday?" I asked. "The custody thing?" "Nah, I already know what I'm going to say." "Which is?" "The truth. That Mom's been mean to you for years, that she brought her boyfriend to our house, and that I want to live with you." He took another bite of pizza. "Is that okay?" "More than okay, kiddo. But you know your mom's going to be upset. Mom's been upset about everything for years. At least this time, it's for a good reason." Saturday night, I was in my apartment reviewing legal documents when someone pounded on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Tyler standing in the hallway, his face red with anger. I opened the door, but kept the chain lock engaged. "Can I help you? We need to talk. I'm pretty sure we covered everything in our last conversation. Rachel's losing her mind. She thinks you're stalking her, following her around, planning to hurt her. She's talking about getting a restraining order. I haven't been anywhere near Rachel." "Then explain this." He held up his phone, showing me a photo of Rachel's car with all 4 tires slashed. I stared at the image. Someone had done a thorough job. All 4 tires cut. The word whore keyed into the driver's side door. And when did this happen? "Last night, in the parking lot at her work." "And you think I did it?" "Who else would—" "Tyler, I've been sitting in this apartment since Thursday night. I have witnesses. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, brought me soup yesterday evening and stayed to watch a movie. The pizza delivery guy was here at 8:30. I haven't left this building except to go to work. His certainty wavered. Then who? Maybe one of your other girlfriends? Maybe someone's husband found out about your extracurricular activities? Or maybe Rachel has more enemies than she realizes. The truth was, I had no idea who'd vandalized Rachel's car, but I wasn't about to waste the opportunity it presented. Let Tyler and Rachel wonder. Let them look over their shoulders and question everyone around them. Stay away from my family, Tyler said, but his voice lacked conviction. Your family? Tyler, Rachel isn't your family. She's just another married woman you're screwing. And when this gets messy, which it will, she'll throw you under the bus so fast, you'll get tire tracks on your back. I closed the door and listened to his footsteps retreating down the hallway. Then I called Lyle. Someone slashed Rachel's tires last night, I said. Wasn't me. I know, but it's interesting timing, don't you think? Very interesting. I'll make some calls, see what I can find out. Do that. And Lyle, step up surveillance on both of them. I have a feeling things are about to get very messy. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, with the kind of October rain that promised a long, miserable winter. I met Patricia at the courthouse, wearing my best suit and carrying a folder full of evidence that would either save my relationship with my son or destroy it completely. Rachel was already there with her attorney, a sharp-faced man named Davidson who looked like he'd stepped out of a corporate law firm. She dressed for sympathy. Conservative blue dress, minimal makeup, the picture of a concerned mother protecting her child. When she saw me, her expression shifted from nervous to hostile. We hadn't spoken since our phone conversation the previous week, and the tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife. The hearing was held in a small courtroom that smelled like old wood and disappointment. Judge Martinez was a stern woman in her 60s, who'd probably seen every variety of family dysfunction imaginable. She listened patiently as Davidson presented Rachel's case. Your Honor, Mr. Voss has exhibited increasingly erratic and threatening behavior over the past month. He ambushed my client with divorce papers in a public setting, causing her significant humiliation and emotional distress. He's been stalking her, vandalizing property, and making threats against her and her friends. What evidence do you have of this stalking and vandalism? Judge Martinez asked. Witness testimony, Your Honor. Mrs. Voss's friends will testify that Mr. Voss has been following them, that he's made threatening statements, and that he's been behaving in an unstable manner. Patricia stood up. Your Honor, we'd like to present evidence that contradicts these allegations and demonstrates that Mrs. Voss is not acting in the child's best interests. What followed was the most surreal hour of my life. Patricia played the recordings Lucas had made. Rachel screaming at me, calling me worthless, discussing her affair with Tyler in graphic detail. She presented the evidence of Rachel's adultery, the photographs, the timeline of deception. Then, Lucas was called to testify. My son walked to the witness stand with his shoulders straight and his chin up. He looked older than his 14 years, and when he spoke, his voice was clear and steady. I want to live with my dad, he said simply. My mom has been mean to him for a long time. She brought her boyfriend to our house when Dad wasn't there. She talks about Dad like he's stupid or worthless, and it makes me uncomfortable. Davidson tried to shake his testimony, suggesting that I'd coached Lucas or manipulated him. But my son was unflappable. Nobody told me what to say, Lucas said. I recorded those conversations because I was tired of watching my mom treat my dad badly. I thought maybe if she heard herself, she'd realize how mean she was being. When it was over, Judge Martinez took a 30-minute recess to review the evidence. Rachel and I waited in the hallway, not speaking, while our lawyers huddled in conference. You bastard, Rachel finally whispered. You turned my own son against me. I didn't have to turn him against you, Rachel. You did that all by yourself. This isn't over. Even if you get custody, I'll make your life hell. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. What kind of man am I, Rachel? The kind who destroys his own family out of spite. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. She was still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. But there was something cold in her eyes now, something calculating and mean that I'd been ignoring for too long. I didn't destroy our family, I said quietly. I just stopped pretending it still existed. Judge Martinez returned with her decision. primary custody to me, with visitation rights for Rachel. The reasoning was clear. The evidence showed a pattern of emotional abuse and adultery that was detrimental to the child's well-being. Rachel's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked genuinely devastated, and I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Outside the courthouse, Lucas hugged me tightly. "We won," he said. "Yeah, kiddo. We won." But as we walked to my car, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was just beginning. 3 weeks later, I was settling into a new routine. Lucas and I had found a 2-bedroom apartment closer to his school, and we were learning to live together as a family of 2. He helped with grocery shopping and cooking, and I helped him with homework and listened to him talk about Emma from English class. It was a Thursday evening when everything came to a head. I was in the kitchen making dinner when Lucas called from the living room. "Dad, you need to see this." He was standing at the front window, looking down at the parking lot. Rachel's car was there, and she was arguing with Tyler next to his Mustang. Even from 3 floors up, I could see that they were both agitated. "How long have they been down there?" I asked. "About 10 minutes. They keep looking up at our windows." As we watched, Tyler grabbed Rachel's arm roughly, and she jerked away from him. Their argument escalated, voices carrying up through the evening air. Other residents were starting to notice, coming out onto their balconies to watch the drama unfold. Then Tyler got in his car and drove away, leaving Rachel standing alone in the parking lot. She looked up at our window, and even from a distance, I could see the rage on her face. My phone rang. "Rachel." "We need to talk," she said when I answered. "No, we don't." "I'm coming up." "Rachel, don't." The line went dead. A few minutes later, someone pounded on our door. I looked through the peephole and saw Rachel standing in the hallway, her hair disheveled, her makeup smeared. "Lucas, go to your room," I said quietly. "Dad, now." I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "What do you want, Rachel?" "I want my son back. I want my life back. I want you to stop destroying everything I care about." "I haven't destroyed anything. I just stopped enabling your behavior." "My behavior?" Her voice rose to a shout. "You're the one who's been sabotaging Tyler's business, spreading lies about me, turning my own son against me." "I didn't turn Lucas against you. You did that by yourself when you decided to bring your boyfriend into our house. Tyler and I are over, okay? Are you happy? He dumped me because of all the drama, because his business is failing, because everyone in town thinks I'm some kind of home-wrecking slut. And whose fault is that?" She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something break behind her eyes. "You really hate me, don't you?" The question surprised me. I thought about it, really considered it. Did I hate her? After everything she'd put me through, after the humiliation and the betrayal, and the years of feeling worthless? "No," I said finally. "I don't hate you, Rachel. I just don't love you anymore, and I don't respect you anymore. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just to make you feel better about yourself. I could have been happy with Tyler if you hadn't interfered. You could have been happy with me if you'd tried. But you didn't want happiness, Rachel. You wanted drama. You wanted to feel superior to someone, to have someone to look down on. I was convenient for that. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you said something nice about me? When's the last time you treated me with basic respect? When's the last time you acted like you were glad to be married to me?" She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. We both knew she couldn't remember. "I made mistakes," she said finally. "But so did you. You gave up on us." "I gave up on us the night you laughed when Bree asked if you'd marry me again. I gave up on us when you brought Tyler to our house while our son was home. I gave up on us when I realized you'd rather humiliate me in public than work on our problems in private." Tears were streaming down her face now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no desire to comfort her. That part of me was dead. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong. But we could try again. We could go to counseling. We could—" "No, please. I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better." "It's too late, Rachel. The damage is done." She stood there for another minute, crying silently. Then she wiped her eyes and straightened her shoulders. Fine, she said. But don't think this is over. I'll get Lucas back. I'll find a way to prove you're an unfit father. You'll what? Make up more lies? Bring more men around our son? Show him more examples of how to treat people with contempt? I'm his mother, and I'm his father. And unlike you, I actually put his needs first. She turned and walked away without another word. I watched her go, then closed the door and locked it. Lucas emerged from his room a few minutes later. Is she gone? Yeah, she's gone. Are you okay, Dad? I looked at my son, this amazing kid who'd chosen me over his mother, who'd stood up in court and told the truth even though it was hard, who was growing into the kind of man I hoped I could be proud of. Yeah, kiddo, I'm okay. We're okay. 2 months later, I got a call from Lyle. Rachel had moved to Florida with a new boyfriend she'd met online. She'd sent a postcard to Lucas with a picture of a beach and a promise to call soon. She never did. Tyler's gym went out of business after the steroid investigation made the local news. Last I heard, he was working at a big box store and driving a 10-year-old Honda. Bree and Sienna stopped speaking to each other after the wine bar incident, when everyone's private messages were revealed. Turns out, they'd been talking behind each other's backs for years. As for me, I got a promotion at work. Lucas made honor roll. We adopted a rescue dog named Murphy. On weekends, we go to the park and throw a frisbee, and sometimes Lucas brings Emma, who turns out to be a sweet girl with a good sense of humor. It's not the life I planned, but it's a good life, an honest life. And for the first time in years, when people ask me about my family, I smile when I answer, game night's over, we won.